Well, good morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. I'm here getting ready to record this week's show. I'll tell you who's coming up on the show shortly. I will tell you this week's show is a little more slower paced. I don't have quite the number of guests in this week's show that I sometimes do, and that's okay. It'll give me a chance to spend a little more time with the folks I am talking with. Mad Jack, good morning, buddy. How are you? Mad Jack was in here early before I even clicked the live button. I saw a comment from Mad Jack. Tommy, good morning, buddy. How are you? Appreciate you joining me, as you often do, and as Mad Jack often does as well. As I'm here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio again to record this week's show. I don't know about you folks, but I'm getting a little. I'm ready for spring. Ready for spring. Jerry, good morning. How are things in Algonac? Nice to have you along with us. And I know it's too early to have spring fever. I get it. But I do. I can't help it. I'm ready to get the Angler Quest out and do some trolling. I'm ready to get the golf clubs out and go play some golf. It's not going to happen for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. We will get a little bit of a break this year. My wife Denise and I, my son James, my daughter-in-law Jessica, we're heading down to Florida for the better part of a week to watch Addie, play softball. She's playing for Calvin College, and she's playing in a spring league, so we'll be going down to Florida. Mike, good morning. How are you? Are your friends still suffering from sunlight deprivation there in Arizona because they haven't seen the sun for a couple of hours? I got a kick out of your comment. That was pretty funny. Johnny Bowler, buddy, I've been wondering about you. How you doing? How is the weather up there, Johnny? Down here, it's been up and down and up and down, and we really don't have hardly any snow in our yard at all. The ice on the pond kind of melted, but it's refrozen. I can still see the beaver lodge and the feed pile that they put out there. But of course, there are no beavers left to take advantage of that. I wonder what happened to him. Cliff, good morning, buddy. How are you? I appreciate when you folks join me on both my Behind the Mic segments and my Wednesday Night Live. Can you say it sucks without being banned? Yeah, as long as you stay with the word suck, you can talk all day, Johnny. Tim Binns, buddy, good morning. How are you? Nice to have you along with us as well. Tim, a longtime friend of mine, known Tim and his family and Jen and the kids forever. Carl, good morning, buddy. How are you? Nice to have you along with us. I hope this guy right here. I hope to be bear hunting with Johnny this fall if I get a third season bear tag. Rocky, good morning, buddy. How are you? He just called Ron about a bear hunt in 2027. Is he all booked up, Rocky? Is he all booked up for 26, or your schedule doesn't allow you to get up there until 2026? David, always a pleasure. Dave, 24th straight day of sitting in a plow truck. Craig, you and I need to go up there and rescue Johnny. We need to go up there and hijack his plow truck and just take him over to Andy's. How you doing, Craig? Craig, thank you again for your generosity in supporting our Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. That is Saturday, March 7th this year. Tommy got 10 points. There we go. 10 points going into the Baldwin area. 10 points should be close, Tommy. Should be close. Jordan, I do not recognize your name, but thanks for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you along with us. I do appreciate it. Rocky, he is booked for 2026. Interesting. Craig says, let's go. He's got the first round at Andy's. I'll pick up the second round. We can get him good and relaxed. Johnny, looking like 51 before I will get a day off, hopefully. 51. what, 2051? What are we talking, Johnny? Or 51 straight days of working. How does that happen? Andrew, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us. By the way, folks, my name is Mike Avery. This is Behind the Mic. I'm actually here behind two mics, two microphones. People ask, why are there two microphones here? Well, this one, my social media mic that I'm talking to you on right now, and this one, the official broadcast mic that I will record the radio show on. Jay, thanks for joining us. Steve, always a pleasure. Hey, Kevin, how are you? Good morning to you. Ice Fishing Lake Ogama, looking forward to the golf outing this summer. That will be the last Friday in July, which is July 31st. It's interesting. Two events I'm involved in this year. The Trinity Monitor event couldn't be any later. It's the first Saturday in March, which is the 7th. And the golf outing is the last Friday in July, which is the 31st. It couldn't be any later. Johnny says it snows his weekend's off. Patrick, good morning. Steve Wyndham. And you will find this interesting, Kevin. Steve Wyndham, first of all, Steve, good morning. Nice to have you along with us. Steve is one of the finest people I've ever worked with, and I've worked with a lot of really good people over the years. Steve, I know you made this public, so I'm going to say something as well. Steve has moved on from MUCC. He's with a group now called Help Me Out, Steve. And it's designed to get kids. I didn't change that input over there, John. Thank you. To get kids involved in the outdoors. And we will miss him at MUCC, but the group that has gained Steve's talents is very lucky. I hope to continue to work with Steve in some way, shape, or form because he's a good guy. He's a quality guy, a really good guy. And I tell you what, we'll miss him this year as we work on the golf outing because he was instrumental. He was the backbone of putting that golf outing together. There may be some interesting developments on the golf outing this year. In fact, it might be expanded. Stay tuned for that. Johnny says, I'll take you and Craig up on that offer at the dinner. Craig, looks like we're buying Johnny's drinks at the Trinity dinner. Lee, good morning. Uncle Johnny, how are you? It was a pleasure to spend the evening with you and Aunt Debbie. Look at this. Shelby Avery. That is my beautiful youngest daughter. I have two daughters. Shelby's my youngest. And if you look at her profile picture, you look at that, I'm calling him beautiful, but he's handsome. That young man she's holding right there, that is my youngest grandson, Bodie, also known as Bob. Morning, Shelb. How are you, kiddo? How are you, Woo? Jen and Mike Barker checking in from Belding. Good morning. How are things in Belding? Gene, how are things in St. Louis? Steve, pass it on. Outdoor Mentors. The last day is Friday. Okay, so Steve's last day at MUCC is Friday. But he is moving on, and I've seen public posts about this, and there's been a news release, so I'm not talking out of school. The sentiment continues, Steve. You're a first-class guy. I'm going to miss working with you as closely as I did while you were at MUCC, and I hope our paths will cross in the future, and maybe we can do something with Pass It On, the Outdoor Mentors Group, and they are very fortunate and blessed to have you with them. Nick Detroit, good morning, buddy. I love it when you're on with us, Nick. I love your name, Nick Detroit. How cool is that? Robert, thanks for joining us. Okay, we will stay in touch. Excellent. Brad, how are you? Patrick, thoughts on the changes for spring turkey? It's interesting you bring that up, Patrick, because my first guest this week, and thank you for helping me segue into this, my first guest this week is DNR wildlife biologist Adam Bump. And we're going to talk specifically about the changes for the upcoming Michigan turkey season, including mandatory kill reporting. And I think the new tag system will go into place for spring turkey season. So we'll talk about that and lots more. So my thoughts on it, I don't know. I have no strong thoughts either way. I'm excited for the springtime turkey season. I love turkey hunting. Second only to bear hunting. There's nothing there that really gets my attention in a negative way. I personally don't mind having to report my harvest. I think that makes sound biological sense. Paul, good morning. Paul, we'll see you at the MUCC convention coming up here in about a month, a little over a month. I am emceeing Saturday night's events, thanks to Steve Wyndham, who volunteered me for that, actually. He asked me. I agreed. And then he moved on. So, Steve, Brian, how are you? Another Brian. 70 in Florida here today. Rub it in. Gene, they're no longer called Apex. What is it? I saw the news release, Gene. I knew this had been in the works. Apex Marine, the original parent company of Angler Quest Pontoons. Of course, Brad Dupuis left Apex. He started his own company, Angler Quest QUEST, and now Apex has been sold. So things have a way of working out for the best, don't they? And I think in Brad's case, they worked out for the best. I did see Brad last week at the Suburban Collection Showplace, the Novi Fishing Show. In fact, we shot video of a couple of boats, including not the Pro Troll, but it's the Family Fish RA, a Family Fish with a radar arch. It's a very, very interesting boat. Tim, how are things in South Carolina? Retina surgery, but thinking about spring turkey. Always great to see you. Nice to see you as well, Tim. Retina surgery. Did you have a tear or what? I've been through that before, Tim, and it's not fun. I fell one time turkey hunting. That's how it happened. I fell turkey hunting. I hit the ground hard enough that it tore my retina, and I had to have it surgically repaired. The joys of getting older. John Sullivan, Lure Lipstick. John, in my mind, you were on my list to stop by and say hi to at the fishing show last weekend, and I got down there and got busy, and I didn't. So I apologize, but how are things at Lure Lipstick? John Sullivan. Mickey, good morning. Nick is good to go. Who's on the show this week? Well, Adam Bump is my first guest, then outdoor writer and fishing guide Dave Rose. Then Jeff Jolly talks about the new reef, Saginaw Bay Anglers, and this is very close to my honey hole, talks about the new artificial reef that they've put in just north of the man-made island. I will be fishing that this summer. We'll also talk about the Saginaw Bay, what's this the and A stuff? I sound like a YouTuber. The A, no, it's the and We talk about the reef, the Saginaw Bay fishery. It's not the fishery. You listen to the YouTubers. That's the A. They're very formal. They try to be very formal. And then Jeff Jolly, DNR wildlife, fisheries biologist, talks about that. And we'll wrap up the show in the third hour with Chris Craner talking about predator hunting and more. And then, of course, Good morning, Art. Wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner will join us as well. Mark, good morning. How are you? Paul, is that at the banquet dinner? I haven't seen an official rundown or an official program for the convention yet. My understanding is Saturday morning is talking about the future of MUCC. Saturday afternoon, resolutions, and then Saturday night is the dinner, but it's more of a fundraiser and there's A again, and encouraging membership event. There's not an awards banquet like there was last year. Tommy, any info on when the 2026 Bear Digest will be available? I don't know that. Whisper Marine. Interesting. That's kind of a cool title. Whisper Marine. I like that. Very nice. Gene, I wish you guys nothing but luck. My dealings with Apex were top-notch. I've never had a bad experience with Apex at all. So I wish you guys luck. I hope you're very successful. Tim, it's interesting you would ask, any word on the next Wednesday Night Live? Well, the next Wednesday Night Live will be tonight, but I know what you're asking. The next Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant. I exchanged emails with Emil Rousseau of the Lumberjack just yesterday, and he asked that question, should we set a date for the next Wednesday Night Live? Sorry, my nose is running all of a sudden. And yes, we should set a date, but no, we haven't. So, Tim, stand by. Tim, multiple tears in the left eye, the fourth surgery in that eye, eighth retina surgery since 2022, both eyes. Is it true? Really? Is it true, Tim, that some people are just wired or born so that there's the again, so that the retina is more brittle and tends to tear? Because they told me I have a tendency to do that, and obviously you do as well, Tim. John Sullivan doing very well, just retired. Mike Dickerson is the new owner. I knew you were slowing down, John. I knew you had retired from the other businesses. I didn't realize that you were retiring from Lure Lipstick. So congrats. I'm really happy for you. Paul Hudak, I think next year I'm going to the fishing show. I looked at Lure Lipstick, forgot to ask for John. The girls got bored, hurried me, so I missed some of what I wanted to do. Don't take the girls if they're going to push you through there fast. Just tell them, go do something. Go over to the mall on the other side of the freeway. Let the girls go to the mall and you go to the fishing show. Joe, how are things in Germ Fask? Kevin Hannes, starting a new pup this summer, so Rose City Tracking Hounds should be back this fall. Excellent. Kevin, one of the first deer trackers in Michigan with his Rose City Tracking Hounds. He was also the course superintendent at the West Branch Country Club. But Kevin, did you tell me you retired from that? Or did I dream that? You doing the show this morning, John? All right. Jonathan Dent just walked back in the studio. This is actually, I joke around about this being the Outdoor Magazine studio. This is actually John's studio. It's the FM studio, but it's John's studio. And he's not entirely happy. And it's okay. I get it. If I spent my week in here and then once a week, Avery comes in for a few hours and knocks my schedule out of whack, I wouldn't like it either. I'm serious. I wouldn't like it either. So, yeah, he's like, it's fine. It's fine. He's like, I just wander the halls. I look for someplace to go. You're very gracious, John. Excellent, Gene. Thank you. I appreciate that. Paul, I'm not sure of the lineup either. Definitely will be different. Usually we're all in one hotel and there's three. Yeah, here's what this is interesting. It's nice when everybody's in one hotel because you can walk from the dinner to the breakfast to the meetings or whatever. This year, the hotel adjacent to the Suburban Collection Showplace, which is changing its name again, is pretty much filled up for a cheerleading competition. So those of us going to the MUCC convention are going to be at different motels. All right, Johnny, you have a great day as well. Greg, good morning. How are you? Don, I don't recognize your name, but thanks for joining us. Yes, you are retired. Kevin, congrats. Beverly, how are you? Hunter Joe, ZZ, be nice if it was for the entire Lower Peninsula. That's what I take, ZZ. Tim Judge, yes, it's true. They're doing all kinds of tests. It's also a hereditary thing. Left eye dominant for 60 years. I had to teach myself to shoot right eye. That would be interesting. All right, Gene, I appreciate that. How much time? John?
2 minutes.
Oh, we got plenty of time. Okay. Dave, we got 2 minutes before we do the radio show, before I record the radio show. The radio show isn't live. The radio show is recorded, and I'm here to record the show. The reason we do it on Wednesday, oh my gosh, Charlie Rood just walked in. And Art Lewis is walking down the hallway. I am surrounded by greatness, my friends. I am surrounded by greatness. There, he pops his head in. It's fun to come in here and hang with the guys for a few hours. My wife Denise says, get the hell out of the house. You need to go somewhere. Go to the studio. Get out of my hair. So I come in here and I get neat. Look at I get out of her hair too, and I don't have any hair to be in. Okay. So I will switch gears here in just a little bit and go from this behind the mic live stream to recording the first segment of the radio show. I will continue the live stream, but I won't be able to directly interact with you and immediately respond to your questions. I'll talk about some of the same topics that we've already discussed here. I'll follow up on a couple of things that were clarified last week during Wednesday Night Live, including two mistakes I made when I called it a WCO, a Wildlife Commission order. It's not, it's a Wildlife Conservation Order. And when I think I said, and I didn't go back to listen to the show, but I think I said that pronghorn sheep, antelope, do not shed their horns, but they do. So I'll make those clarifications. I'll follow up on my comments about EHD versus CWD, which would I rather have in my local deer herd. Pure Michigan hunt. I won the Pure Michigan hunt. They haven't officially notified me yet, but I won. So there are 3 winners chosen each week, and I hope that you are one of the other 2. Now, coming up on the 24th, DNR, Eric Hilliard, in fact, will draw those names and make the phone calls, but I have already won. And I'm feeling pretty good about it. Now, if something happens that I'm wrong and I didn't win, I'm going to be pretty sad. Matt Shaw, good morning. Matt has given us a predator hunt for our Trinity Monitor dinner. One of the wonderful prizes, along with an African safari, courtesy of Craig Plowman. All right, my friends, I got to go to work. You can't call this work. I know it. Enjoy your Wednesday. I hope it's a good one for you. I'll be back tonight at 7 o'clock for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome. Welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show. Right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on wonderful AM and FM radio stations across our great state of Michigan. So glad to have you along with us as we continue to move into this new year, 2026, as we're about roughly halfway through the month of January now. Winter is, I got spring fever. Can I come right out and say it? I have spring fever. And it's too early to have spring fever. I'm setting myself up for disappointment. You know, when we had that January thaw here last week or a week and a half ago where it got pretty warm, and I took advantage of that. The snow melted. I got out and did some things around the yard that I hadn't been able to because it was frozen and covered with snow. Well, now it's moving back the other direction, and it's too early to have spring fever. I think I need to force myself back into wintertime outdoor activities, the ones that I used to enjoy when I was younger. You know, rabbit hunting or skiing or ice fishing. If I had those activities that I was passionate about and addicted to, I think it would make the wintertime fly faster. But that's not where I find myself. So I'm jonesing, okay? I'm jonesing for springtime, but I just need to be patient and sit back and wait. I want to start this show right out with a couple of corrections, things that I misspoke about in last week's show. The first one was regarding the Ask Avery segment when we asked the question of whether, you know, if you're tracking a deer and then you then find that deer, but he's still with us, meaning he's not dead yet, to be honest, can you legally shoot that deer after dark? And I referred to WCO with some numbers, and I called it the Wildlife Commission Order. Well, it's not. It's a Wildlife Conservation Order. Maybe a minor point, but it was wrong. I said the wrong thing, and so let me correct that. It's not a Wildlife Commission Order. It is a Wildlife Conservation Order. And the answer to that is if you come up to a deer that you've been tracking, you can then reload your weapon, whether it's a gun or a bow, depending on the season, and you can finish that animal off legally. Now, of course, we're talking Michigan, but this is a Michigan show. When I post such comments online, I have to be very careful and very specific because people, you know, they follow me on social media outside of Michigan. They say, oh, no, that's not true. Well, I'm talking about Michigan. Hey, listen, I'm a Michigan guy. I'm a Michigan fanboy. I make no apologies for it. I love this state. I've spent my career here. I will finish my career here. I've lived my entire life here. I've done a fair amount of traveling earlier in my career, enjoyed it, but always looked forward to coming back home to Michigan. So when I talk about things on this radio show and the podcast version of, unless I tell you otherwise, they are Michigan specific. The other mistake that I made, and I didn't go back to listen to the show to verify this, but my recollection is, in my mind, I said this. We were talking about shed antlers and the search for shed whitetail antlers. And I made the distinction, being kind of a smart aleck, between horns and antlers. Antlers drop off every year, horns don't. And I mentioned, whitetails drop their antlers, elk drop their antlers, moose drop their antlers. And I said, sheep don't drop their horns. And I think I said antelope, pronghorns. I think I said pronghorns don't drop their horns. But you know what? They do. So again, I made a mistake. I misspoke. And I want to come back and address that right now. So so I made 2 mistakes last week. I probably made 200, but I'm aware of 2. So there you go. Also, going back to making comments online, I made a post last week, and I said that I said I almost feel like, and I'm not a biologist. Again, I'm not a biologist. I don't pretend to be. I'm just a guy with a microphone and sometimes a big mouth. I said I almost feel like if my local deer herd had to be affected by disease, and I would prefer that it doesn't, at first blush, I would almost prefer that I had CWD in the local deer herd as opposed to EHD, chronic wasting disease as opposed to EHD. And then I backed off. I said, you know what? I can't say that, but I said it is an interesting discussion, isn't it? Maybe I should put out some kind of an online poll. Obviously, we would all prefer that our local deer herd does not get hit by any kind of disease, but if it had to get hit by disease, would you want it to be EHD or CWD? The thing about EHD is it comes in hard and fast, and it's really disruptive to a local deer herd and can kill a lot of animals quickly. Chronic wasting disease, we don't know yet, do we? I mean, the experts, the biologists, the DNR biologists will say, long term, it could be very, very bad. But I just haven't seen that yet. So I'm thinking, boy, if I had chronic wasting disease in the local deer herd, at least I would have a healthy deer herd for the foreseeable future, where if EHD comes in, it can wipe out all your bucks in a matter of a couple of weeks. Again, I don't want either one of them, but isn't that an interesting discussion? The whole CWD thing is very interesting because there are a significant percentage of deer biologists, non-state DNR deer biologists, deer hunters, and deer farmers who say chronic wasting disease is not the end of the world as we had been told earlier by a lot of state DNR biologists. And I've had this discussion with top tier Michigan DNR wildlife biologists and expressed that concern. And they say, no, we stand by this. CWD is a very big concern. And we don't want to find out how bad it can be. So I don't know. It's an interesting discussion. Does talking about it change anything? Probably not. Oh, and the thing about EHD, if you think your area is going to be susceptible to EHD, there are products out there, including one, AquaShield from Killer Food Plots, Michigan-based Killer Food Plots, where if you get into a dry summer, could be drought, you can treat your water holes and ponds with AquaShield and do a pretty good job of, I don't know about preventing EHD, but certainly mitigating it. What else? I talked about winter continuing. Interesting, the Saginaw River where I live, there was ice on the river, and there were people out there ice fishing. I had dinner in Bay City the other night next to the river, looking at the river, and it's wide open. So I don't know what is this winter going to end up bringing. I don't know. So in the meantime, last week I went down to the boat show at the Suburban Collection Showplace, the Ultimate Fishing Show in Detroit. Saw some good friends. Shot some video with Mr. AnglerQuest, Brad Dupuis. I haven't posted that yet as of the time we are recording the show, but by the time you hear the show this weekend, it will probably be out there, including a walkthrough of the new AnglerQuest QUEST family fish model, the Family Fish RA. So it's a family fish with a radar arch. It seems like it might be the best of all worlds, and I don't know, maybe a boat I might be interested in running as well. Okay, they will officially announce, they being the Michigan DNR, specifically Eric Hilliard of the Michigan DNR. I think the date is the 24th. They are going to announce the winners of the Pure Michigan Hunt. I won. I'm one of the 3 winners of the Pure Michigan Hunt for 2026. Now, they haven't officially notified me of that. And they haven't even officially drawn those winners. But I can feel it in my heart of hearts that I won the Pure Michigan Hunt this year. Now, when they make that official, I will take the elk tag, and I will take the bear tag, and everything else I think I'll donate to charity organizations around the state that they can auction off or use for fundraisers or whatever. So, congratulations to me, Mike Avery. I did win the Pure Michigan Hunt this year. Again, they haven't officially notified me. They haven't even drawn it yet. Okay, but I won. I can feel it. I won the Pure Michigan Hunt. They draw 3 winners. I hope that you are one of the other 2. Now, here's the kicker. I'm saying this with all bravado, but if something happens where I did win the Pure Michigan Hunt, people would come out of the woodwork. Avery, it was fixed. But you know what? I would deal with all that criticism, and I would take my winnings for winning the Pure Michigan Hunt. Coming up on this week's show after the break, DNR wildlife biologist Adam Bump talks about the upcoming Michigan turkey season, including some changes. In our second hour, outdoor writer and fishing guide Dave Rose checks in. Then fisheries biologist Jeff Jolly on the new reef that they put in Saginaw Bay, the Inner Bay, and the DNR, or the Saginaw Bay fishery in general. And in our third hour, predator hunting with Chris Craner. All that plus wild game chef Dixie Dave Miner and more coming up this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. All right, my friends, thanks for joining me as my nose continues to run. I will spare you that. Have a good day. I'll be back tonight at 7 o'clock for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. In the meantime, have a great day.